Welcome and thank you for listening to another episode of Stories from the Set. This podcast talks with people in the entertainment industry who work behind the scenes on a budget, also known as the below the line budget, if you're quote unquote in the biz. My name is Jesus. Consider me your personal Jesus. My guest today is a DGA, UPM, and AD. A line producer, a filmmaker, and actually the list does go on and on and on, with over 40 years in the entertainment industry. But before I introduce him, I have a little house cleaning. I fixed the sound problem. I'm sure you can hear that right now. I took a break originally for that. I attempted to try and do this a different way, and I didn't like the amount of hassle it was for me. So now you're just getting audio-only podcast. Maybe I think just maybe in the future it's just gonna have like pictures like come on, fade in and out as the show progresses as we're talking about things. So that's kind of the way that's gonna go, I think, because it's just boring looking at a picture. You know what I mean? Anyway, with that said. I would like to introduce my guest for today. Please welcome, and the gentleman I'm meeting for the first time, Mr. David Japka. Hello, David, and welcome to the podcast. I thank you for being on.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
I just want to also welcome everybody on who's going to be on Facebook Live, which is probably going to be nobody, but it doesn't matter. If they come up with any question or comments, I'll see if I can use it.
How did they know that we're on?
I posted it earlier today that I was going to be on with you.
Wonderful.
So David Papka, is that all right?
It's Japka.
Japka, sorry.
Japka if you're in France.
I'm not in France.
Or Montreal, the Quebec-y.
Canada, as I like to call it.
Canada, that's a fine
because if you're Canadian, obviously you're from Canada.
I would think that if you're close to the border, you could pass, because Canadians, they often look like Americans, unlike our president who wants to, I'm not going there. I'm sorry I brought it up. It's your show.
That's okay.
Jesse, just go.
No, I actually, I get fairly frustrated with like both sides because, first of all, let's introduce you, David Japka, David Japka. I have it written right here too. Japka. David Japka. So I'm a bit confused. Now, do you work for the DGA or are you just like part of that DGA union?
Okay, the DGA is a union, so they have staff. I do not work for the union itself. I work as a freelance assistant director and a unit production manager, also known as a UPM. And there's 4 different categories in the film world. And it's a director, a UPM, first AD, and a second AD. And then for live television, there's a director, stage manager, and associate directors.
Right.
So we don't work for the guild, but they manage all of our pay rates and make sure that we get paid and we have health benefits and stuff.
Yay, because who doesn't like health benefits?
Yes, very important.
I was just wondering, so for everybody who isn't in the film industry and they see the screen credits rolling by, could you please tell me what a UPM does and what a line producer does? Because I looking on your resume, I saw that you have quite a bit of experience with both.
Yeah. They're similar positions. Line producer generally gets involved very early in a project and often continues through production. A production manager is strictly when the film or TV show has been funded and the money is in the bank. And that position is the general manager of the company. So every film or TV project is like a unique company, except it puts out one product.
Right.
Unless, of course, you're Law and Order, and then or NCIS, and then you have broken up, different spin-offs. But nonetheless, my job is to handle anything managerial, from vendors to employees, paychecks, equipment. The difference between a line producer and a production manager is that as a line producer, I become involved in a project when it's in its development stages, perhaps even before it's financed. So I will work with a producer who says, David, how much is this going to cost? And I look at the script. I use my experience as a first AD. I do a simple breakdown, identifying all the characters, all the elements such as cars and locations and stuff. And then I build a budget. So let me just finish.
Go ahead.
I create the line item budget.
Right.
So that's why I get a title of line producer, because I've gone out and researched the cost for each line of the budget.
And would you so how if you're going to make a film, no matter what the budget is, how important is it to do a breakdown of your project? How important is that?
It's crucial.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crucial to have a line producer on board to give investors an accurate idea of what the cost is going to be. There are lots and lots of producers who just ballpark budgets, and they'll create what's called the top sheet, which is generally like a table of contents of what the costs are and ballpark. It's this is a $5 million movie. This is a $30 million movie. We're going to put this much money in for this, and this much money in for that. And that is exactly what it is. It's a ballpark. But to dictate to an investor what the actual projected costs are, it's crucial to do a breakdown. At least have somebody as qualified as myself read through the script, highlight areas of concern, stunts, visual effects, locations that are far off in magical land or up in the Andes, things like that, things that cost money.
And how close do you work with the producer, the first AD, the director, and the executive producer? How is that the core group making all these judgments?
Absolutely, yes. And there is a flow chart that exists that I've seen that dictates how these departments work. And the line producer and the production manager are either reporting to each other or reporting directly to the producers. So there's a dotted line hierarchy to the director and the UPM, because the UPM is technically part of the director's team. So we act as a buffer between the director and the producers and the executive producers. There's all kinds of producers, but let's say the executive producer, he's the guy with the money. And he wants to know, are you serious? It's going to cost that much? And I'm going, yes, we have to buy 5 of the exact same GTOs, paint them the exact same color, because there are 4 car accidents where you demolish the same car. And they go, well, I don't understand. Can't we double up and just do it with 2 cars? You go, well, which side of the car do you want to hit first? So, yeah.
That's so great. If you want to cross the line as we're going on in the film, that's...
Yeah, well, the camera will only show the front of the car for the first 10 minutes, and then after that first accident, we're shooting from behind, because, you've got to get coverage.
Now, looking over your the IMDb page and everything like that, you're not a young man, as I would say, but but
I've been in the industry for 40 years.
Right, but I see that like nothing's really getting listed until like 2004, I think, is the earliest thing I saw on a short film.
That's true.
What were you doing prior to that?
I was working outside of the entertainment industry before IMDb became de facto record keeping, and it's the first things that I want to say before telling you what you asked me is that IMDb is owned by Amazon.
Oh, really?
It's all manipulated. It's not accurate. So it's what
I know. I know I have an IMDb page, but I've never even updated it or nothing.
Somebody like me is responsible for creating the entry on the show, but more and more as we go along, it's the publicity department of the film. So it started out by a couple of guys who said we would just want to know who was involved in these films, and it's now expanded out to be the de facto resume of industry workers. So in 20 years, we went from no way to cross-reference credits to now having this beast where it's a subscription-based entity owned by a huge corporation.
Well, I'm glad it...
I'll get to your question now.
Yeah, go ahead. I get it.
So IMDb only lists entertainment-related projects. So those are TV, those are film, those are things that are shown before an audience. And it includes documentaries. Music videos are not on IMDb, nor are commercials.
That's interesting.
Well, that's its entity. It's the Internet Movie Database.
Oh, wow.
So what was I doing? I was working on the East Coast. I got out of school in 1979, Temple University.
I was 9 years old, by the way.
Things have changed.
Yeah.
Things have changed. But you know, you could be 9 years old still. I think in my mind that I'm 19. But here it is. I've got all this wisdom.
Yeah, I do constantly ask myself, I'm like, I know a guy my age does not act this way, or at least I don't think so. And then, because you know, you always have your parents that I'm like, oh, but I think I've been the same.
Yeah. Well, I have survived the whole transition from analog to digital, from big production devices to things that we have right now as a radio station on a desktop. So it's been a great period to be in the business.
Yeah, it's been a great transition. I'm going from analog to digital.
So the answer to what was I doing, I was in production. I started my career as what is now known as an assistant editor.
Okay.
Back in the day, I was a tape operator in a TV station for hire in Philadelphia. So I ran anything that they needed to have done. I was an intern there in college. So I learned the soundboard. I learned the cameras. I learned the recording mechanisms, these huge tape decks. That
you don't have to look at that.
2 inches of tape. And so an hour program was like this big. Right. This big. And, you know, we put an hour program on a chip now, an SD chip, 64 gigabyte chip. You know, these things weighed 25 pounds. But from there, I learned how to use the editing equipment, to use the TV switching equipment called the switcher. You know, same thing they still use now.
Yeah,
for
they still
sports.
use that. Yeah.
And most of what I was doing were local commercials films for industry, for corporate, corporate training, lots of informational pieces about a manufactured product, runs the gamut. And after about 5 years, I was looking no longer to be an editor who sits in a dark room his whole entire life.
Yes.
And I wanted to be out in the field. I really wanted to make movies, but somebody offered me a very good job, and I said a good job is better than a wishful dream.
Right.
So I stayed with the good job, and I did maneuver one of my into another job. One of my good clients said, we're expanding and we'd like to bring you on freelance as a producer director, and then you'd supervise the edits. And I said, that sounds great. And he goes, well, we have a job coming up in 2 months. Would you like to do it? And I said, yeah, of course. So I went from full-time contracted editor, technical director, to be a freelance producer director, and then made safety training films for Fortune 100 companies for the next 6-7 years.
Oh, okay.
So
you cut your teeth on industrial films.
Industrials.
Yeah.
Yep. Safety training.
I've in early on, I watched many of those at the various different.
Everybody,
companies.
whether they remember it or not, they've participated in a training program where they've seen a slideshow more often than not, a PowerPoint, but they've seen videos. And what we did there at the company was hire actors and create dialogue and scenarios and stories. So we had a 20-minute short film that had a safety concern that was addressed. One
weird one that I saw, they actually had, it was Sherlock Holmes themed, and it was a safety video. And Sherlock Holmes was going around trying to discover how these people got hurt and what would be the best way to keep them from getting hurt. That was the weirdest one I ever saw. I'm like, well, kept it interesting, but the guy had the worst English accent there was.
There's so many ways to keep an audience entertained. And back in that day, we really did use the tricks of the entertainment trade to keep the story interesting. So we were borrowing from Hitchcock and comedy. I once did a stand-up comedian show who was pitching a internal promotional piece for a pharmaceutical product, and he was telling fat jokes.
Okay.
So this was a weight loss product.
Was it Fen? Because they got.
No, I'm not going to mention the name.
Oh yeah, let's not mention names.
It made it out into the marketplace, and it did well until they found that it had other problems. It's no longer on the market.
Yeah.
But that for training and for product information, we thought we were going to be Hollywood and make Hollywood. But there's a fraction of the crew. So I'm running.
And where were you doing this at? What?
This is in Philadelphia.
Oh yeah.
Central New Jersey, and occasionally in New York.
Well, New York, yeah, I could see you getting plenty back, but like Philadelphia, I don't know how big the any form of entertainment, like stage or film, is in Philadelphia or New Jersey.
There's a lot, but not enough to sustain a career.
Ah, right.
Not at that time. I date myself when I tell you that Trading Places was shooting in Philadelphia when I was working.
Oh yeah.
The Eddie Murphy,
right.
Dan Aykroyd movie. Yeah. So that film downtown. But through my the crew and the people that I worked with, especially the casting department, I ended up getting a taste of Hollywood. And I worked on The Sixth Sense, and I worked on Philadelphia and 12 Monkeys.
Oh, okay.
So a big show.
Very prominent films.
Come into town, and I do a little work for the PA for the casting department, and get exposed to the real Hollywood.
And so, what brought you to the West Coast? What brought you out here to California, aside from the beautiful weather?
Well, my mom lived out here.
Oh, really?
I have family that's been here in the Fairfax area since the late 20s, early 30s.
Wow.
So it's like my great grandmother's sister got married, and so it was my mother's first cousin or second cousin. So both my uncles came out in the 60s, and they lived out here for a while. My older brother came out in the 60s, and while he was in high school, and my uncle got him a pass to the Rams game to take photos, and he was on the field. So Los Angeles was always in my periphery. And I'd come out. My mom moved out here right when I graduated from college. And so I'd come out here, and she had friends who were in the industry, and I got tours of Paramount and of Fox. And so I was longing to come out to do entertainment, because that was my dream. But here it was. I had a job. I had a career in the Philadelphia, New Jersey, New York marketplace. It paid the bills. I was doing very well. And I got to mid-career, which was around the turn of the century. And I said, are you doing what you wanted to do when you went to school? And the answer was sort of, kind of, yes, no. And I took it upon myself to re-educate myself on filmmaking and television creation, rather than just the production of media for communication purposes. And in 2000, I navigated a position with a for-profit school system to work with their technology department, and they relocated me to Los Angeles.
Oh, that was nice
to
of them.
Manage 5 campuses here on the West Coast. And I was there, they're based in Pittsburgh, but I was part of their technology consultant team, because they were teaching animation, they were teaching film production, video production. That was part of their curriculum. And I wrote white papers on new technology that was coming out. And before we came on, I told you that I had built a couple of edit suites. I had also done technology research for my employers on the future of digital video and audio. So I gave a speech at the industry convention where one of the people that I knew from this school system saw me and said, you know, we have something bigger for you if you'd like. And that's what brought me out here. My ultimate goal was to enter the film industry as a writer-director.
Okay.
But the technology aspect followed me, preceded me. And through a series of events that started with 9/11, we had a economic downturn. And that led to me not having a job within 2 years of arriving in Los Angeles.
Oh, well, that sounds, that's,
Yeah.
it's not the way you want to go, right?
No, I wanted to build a network while working as a full-time regional manager. But I was plunged into the world of filmmaker without a job, and quickly said, well, what skills can I sell?
Right.
And I joined a couple of key organizations. One is Film Independent. There were some other networking type organizations at the time. And I took a class that was put on by Entertainment Partners, which owns the software Movie Magic.
Okay.
And I realized that my skills as a first AD or a line producer or production manager were a way to get paid. I could live. I have skills that I can sell.
I've heard people make a living that way in the film industry.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I bought the software. I started marketing myself. I did lots of pro bono work.
Yeah.
And then I quickly learned the question that you asked, which is the IMDb. I handed a producer on $1 million film my resume, and he goes, well, you don't have any credits. I go, well, I've been in the industry for 20 years.
Right.
I've done a lot of work. He goes, well, you don't have any credits. You don't have any experience. And I had a little argument with him, but I'm trying to get a job, so I can't tell him he's full of shit.
Right.
But it came down to what a new face needs to succeed in Los Angeles is IMDb credits. Having had one interview that explained it all to me, of course I didn't get the job, but I got a great learning experience. I now set out to do whatever I could to get credits. I would work pro bono using my AD and production management skills to gain credits. And that's how my career as a line producer, unit production manager, and first AD took off. Because I have skills that I could sell, that people bought, so that I could eat.
Which is very important because everything is expensive in this town.
It's so well, my car was paid for, and that was a blessing.
Yeah, thank God. So, what was the first big project you worked on when you, after struggling so hard, doing pro, like many of us have worked for free, if a friend give you a call, can you work on this? Yeah, you know.
Right. I got a referral to an actor named Chopper Burnett, who wanted to make a film for himself.
Okay.
So he had less than $200,000 of actual cash to make a script that he had written. And half of it took place in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And
well, at least you know it'd be cheap.
half of it took place in Los Angeles.
Okay, well, there you go.
And Topanga. But he was brilliant in that he used his own house. He does a lot of voice work. In fact, he has his own audio studio in Topanga. It's a shed, and he just does audio work.
Yeah, I know. I don't like this place because I don't know if anybody can. I don't know if it picks it up on the mic, but there's a lot of construction going out of my window.
We hear it. I suspect the mic does.
Right. It always annoys them. Like, oh, can they hear all that?
Yeah, I wouldn't choose this location for filming
because
of its noise, but we're that statement comes from is that I have been in the edit suite knowing what background sound sounds like. That makes me valuable going to a location where I have filmed before and determining just by experience that that's going to be noisy in the edit suite.
Right.
I have an app on my phone now that's a decibel app, and it'll tell me what the background dB level is.
Now, ever since smartphones came out, there's so many things on there that you could just Like you got the smartphone for like you can find out when golden hour is going to be.
Really,
It's crazy
really,
all the stuff you can do.
it's like when we first went into like the internet age, the first thing that went was this ubiquitous book called The Thomas Guide.
Yeah, the Thomas. Yes, I grew up with the Thomas Guide.
It
I'm very
was
familiar with
the
it.
Book to
Yeah.
have. That was the map of Los Angeles.
Yeah, exactly.
And even now, to this day, you want to get a film permit to film LA, the location coordinated, the office that handles film shoots, they'll still ask you for the page and coordinates on the Thomas Guide. But what happened, first off, GPS came up on the screen, and everybody could just plug in to their, I forget the brand names now, the TomTom.
Oh, right. The Garmin, the TomTom, those
yeah.
things, yeah.
First that happened.
Those were the first things to come out, yeah.
And then MapQuest came out, and they would give you directions, and you'd print it out for a PA, and they'd, let's go pick this up from here. And now we have Google Maps and competing Apple Maps, and
Well, Apple Maps
it's
sucks.
just
I know.
it's on your phone.
I remember
it's into the universe.
one of my jobs was driving limousines, and you couldn't just have like one Thomas Guide for the Los Angeles, because it would only go so. It only took you so far.
I bought the
Like,
one for Ventura.
yeah, you had
not
to buy the
Orange
one
County.
for Ventura and Orange County. Yeah. So yeah, there were like 3 books that I would have in my on the passenger seat in my limo, just to make sure I knew where I was going.
Yeah.
And you'd always have to like map it out ahead of time and write down the. Yeah, it was a hassle.
The smartphone really has revolutionized the film industry.
Oh yeah.
Not only from, tangential issues like locations, but certainly you can identify a location and then stand there, and as you mentioned, it'll tell you when the sun sets, at what day, at what time of the year, and the DP and the location manager, they're saying, okay, well, we want to shoot this here, so the sun will be over there, and he holds up the viewfinder app that he's got it. He shows it to the director. He goes, okay, so if we come here on September 17th, that's where the sun is going to be at 2 in the afternoon. So we need to schedule it for a 9 a.m. call for October, because the sun will be lower and you'll shoot your dusk at dawn. And that way the sun will set before our 12 hours are up, and we'll shoot dusk for dusk later on in the day, and then knock out 2 of our setups in our 12-hour day.
Yeah, which is always good.
It's just brilliant.
Yeah.
I use it for everything. So why do I have the line experience titles and know all this stuff? Because I'm a geek. And I just love filmmaking and all the tools. And I'm really a very creative guy, but I love technology, and it serves me well. And now I'm in the world of accounting, where you can, connect to QuickBooks on your phone or Quicken, and you can dial in receipts and get hot costs. And basically, you do the back end of filmmaking on your phone as well. So it's just been a revolution.
Yeah. So how quickly did you adopt digital editing?
I was doing digital editing before I came into the entertainment industry.
Oh, really?
It was adopted outside of Hollywood far quicker than it was here,
Oh, really?
because there was a lot of investment in film stock, mag stock, 16 millimeter,
I know.
35 millimeter, 70 millimeter, 65 millimeter. There was a lot of investment existing and shows that were continuing. So to change over to an Avid was a big challenge. I mean, there wasn't enough computing power. The processors weren't fast enough to load a whole 30 frames per second or 24 frames per second and play it at real time. So the compression, you'd only see a scratchy image, and that wasn't good enough. So you'd start with the rough cut and then conform with the online edit. So there'd still be old tools integrated with new tools. And soon the technology advanced and this industry caught up. Probably in 2010, I would say that is when film processing kind of peaked. Not peaked. It died.
Yeah, died. Yeah,
it died. You know, you reach the maximum quality and
because
change over.
I remember back in the early, it had to be like 95, 96. I worked for Roger Corman, and they brought in I can't remember where it was at. I think it was in the building next door. They had the Avid suite, and they were taking the tapes and like putting them into this machine, and the machine was like uploading them and everything like that. So yeah. And because of that, I wish I would have had the wherewithal to like, yes, I will go learn how to edit on these machines, but my mind was focused on somewhere else. And I had a friend who traveled literally the world teaching people how to work the Avid suite. Yeah. And
I learned how to use Avid. I learned how to use Premiere back in 98. And After Effects was coming out on the market in the late 90s. Photoshop, I know how to use Photoshop. I know how to use Lightroom. I'm a photographer. We built an audio suite with digital tools in 96, even using Windows XP. Well, it was before XP, so it was Windows 95, and then there was a Pro version. Anyway, that's what platform we built an Avid on, as well as sound recording with SoundForge.
Just the other day, I have a problem because like I have to shoot things on my phone a lot.
Yeah.
And I got to put them into my computer, and then I get Resolve and I do my editing, and I'm like, God, there's got to be something better for like they have. And I've seen and I tried using the digital ones that are on your phone, but they don't let you move things around. They don't. It's like all linear cuts.
If you search enough, you will find a tool that works on your phone.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you use one on your phone?
I do. I use iMovie.
Oh, really? iMovie?
Yeah.
I never even thought about using iMovie. I just think
the biggest issue that I have with iPhones, and it's kind of changing now by default, is aspect ratio and vertical versus horizontal.
That drives me nuts. It really does.
But I love my iPhone. I got my first one. It was iPhone 3, and I shoot movies, and I can pull up the software, bring it in, slide it, so it works very similar to an Avid or Adobe Premiere, and you can say I'll put a dissolve in here. So I've gone on vacations, edited a 30-second movie, posted it to Facebook.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to. I was very frustrated with the software on the ones that I've tried so far.
Yeah.
So, because they just didn't seem to do what I wanted them to do.
I'll only say one word, and then we can move on to another topic. That one word is Apple.
Apple. Okay.
And moving on.
Okay. Apple. Right. Used the wrong phone. Got it. So, what do you think was as starting out? Now that you've like worked in the industry for so long, What are some of the hurdles that you still have to, hoops that you still have to jump through to maintain a working career in this business? Because
Yeah, you have to do two things. You have to continue to work. You can't ever stop because you're only as good as the last job that you did. And somebody wants to know, why is your last IMDb credit from 2013? And today it's, 2019.
right.
And I go, well, I've been working. What does IMDb tell you? That film came out, it aired on the Sci-Fi Channel. But somebody's who doesn't understand the mechanics of IMDb, they go, well, you haven't made a movie in 5 years. I go, well, I beg to differ. It's just, I've been paying my rent.
Right.
So I've been working. So the key is to continue to work and try to work on better films, but keep your credits current and take commercials, take whatever you can if your career starts to slow down. The other hurdle, one is technological. We are moving at an incredible pace now. That the film I mentioned was the breakthrough for me. We shot it in 2006, I think, on a video camera, prosumer camera, with an adapter to the front that made it look like film. It was like a red rock adapter.
All right.
And now there are people who shoot on still cameras that were made for still photography and were adapted.
Oh, the DSLRs, yeah.
The DSLRs. The most popular one is the Canon 5D.
Yeah.
Or D5.
5D, I remember when it came out, yeah.
And so I see people out there shooting with this whole erector set rig with a still camera in the middle. I mean, well, yeah, sure. I've shot a film.
Right.
Rock Jocks, we had 2 of those. And it's nice. But that was only 4 years ago. Now you've got the Arri Alexa. You've got Sony F5.
Blackmagic.
Blackmagic makes a great camera that no one heard of.
Right.
And Danny Boyle shot this film with James Franco. I think he was stuck in a.
Yeah,
the
27 hours. 26 hours.
He had to
something
cut
like
off
that.
his arm.
Right.
So, Blackmagic were the cameras, and I went to the director's screening of that film, and I listened to the director say, they built a set so that he would feel claustrophobic, and of course, people wanted to know, well, how'd you get a camera in there? Because in the old days, which were only 10 years ago,
right,
you'd have to have a cutaway wall that you'd build. No one would go out and shoot in nature. That just doesn't happen.
Right.
So that was a studio shoot, except for where he's walking. And all the time that he's stuck in that wall, he's got 2 sides of a set closed in, and the cameraman is on a harness using these Blackmagic cameras. And that's the first time I ever heard the term Blackmagic. And here, because it's a European manufacturer, and he's a British director, I'm thinking he's making it up. It's like, what is Blackmagic? Now, Blackmagic is a viable and excellent solution in a variety of price points.
Right.
Most people do want to shoot on the Alexa. That also comes in different sizes and formats.
And the Red.
Red, of course, yes. The Red was the big breakthrough.
Right.
And that made digital filmmaking a reality.
I remember when Spike Lee, I can't remember the name of the film, but it was like a black African-American cast doing minstrel shows. I can't remember the name. No, it wasn't. That was in the 70s. This was in the 90s, and he shot it. He shot it on digital cam. He's like, it's totally digital. There's no film. And you know, you looked at it and you're like, yeah, okay, yeah. It looks like a, you know, it didn't look like you shot it like on digibeta, but you know,
it still didn't look like film.
It didn't look like film.
It didn't quite look like television transferred
right.
to film. It was something else. It was empowering.
Yeah.
That's really what it did for the industry. It empowered younger filmmakers to get in with films that we used to call student films, but they're making features in their backyard with their parents' cameras or their camcorders.
Yeah. Yeah. So like with this one, with the camera that I use, my cell phone, like someone asked me, he's like, what do you do when you're like out? Like someone asked me, because I post these videos about this project I'm working on. He's like, what do you shoot that on? I'm like, I just shoot it on my phone. I just shoot it on because it's really easy. I get good quality. And I have a friend who just won an award who shot an entire short film on his iPhone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, what do you need to make a movie? You need your phone. That's about it.
If you want to be a starting filmmaker, you can do it for about $2,000 of equipment.
Right.
And start with your iPhone, get an exterior microphone, buy some inexpensive software, or basically you rent your software now.
I know, that drives me
Adobe
nuts.
Creative Suite will give you everything that you need, audio and video-wise, and you make it in your basement.
Yeah, what do you think of that switch over to, I don't know, subscription?
Yeah.
I think that's ridiculous.
Well, it is problematic for independents. People like you and me, who we invest and we want it to depreciate, and we want to use our equipment for a purpose. But it makes more sense for production facilities that have to have the latest and greatest. So the technology keeps advancing logarithmically, or maybe there's another better word. It gets twice as fast in half the time.
Right.
And so the updates to the software are happening before you could print something out. And the nature of the internet advanced so much that it put printing on CDs and packaged software. It doesn't exist anymore.
That's true.
You just download a zip file or another expandable file. So
I'm surprised we still get Emmy screeners on DVDs still.
I'm really pissed that we do, because
it's a lot of trash.
We spend all this time shooting in 2K, high definition, and a DVD is standard definition.
Right.
It's old-fashioned technology.
Yeah.
But Blu-ray and whatever the other Sony format was,
so I could think of HD or something.
It didn't get enough penetration into the marketplace, and Netflix read the minds of the industry and created streaming and bypassed the acceptance of high definition discs. So it didn't get enough machines out there.
Right.
Which is why we get the DVDs and not Blu-ray.
Right.
But I get to vote in the DGA directors, and since I'm also a actor, I get screening, sometimes screeners. But since I live and work here in Hollywood, I literally try to go to
to go to theater, yeah, like on the one of the lots, yeah.
And I go set up my screening calendar. I drag my wife. I'm now dragging my son, and we go to the movies.
Right.
Between like Halloween and Christmas,
there's a lot to go to.
3 to 4 films.
Yeah.
A week. And then you have to write them down, keep notes. because they haven't quite been nominated yet.
Right.
It's crazy. But that's the benefit of living in Los Angeles. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I like to expound on, because I got a lot of grief for moving to Hollywood from people who I knew in Philadelphia and New Jersey and New York. New York already had a fledgling industry in the 90s. But when I said I want to be in entertainment, I have to be in Los Angeles. They
Right.
go, no, you can make a movie anywhere. They're shooting movies in Georgia, they're shooting movies in Louisiana, commercials in Chicago. You don't have to go to Los Angeles. And I go, yeah, I do. Because that's where the people are making the deals.
Right.
And that's where everything is oriented. And so here we are, we're talking about giving out awards, and I go, movies for free. Can you go to movies for free in Kansas City? The
Probably
answer is
not.
No. Can you have a Q&A session with a director in Omaha?
That's what I like about those. You sit down and you get the director, you get to pick his brain or, listen to the questions. I really enjoy those.
Right now, we're in the Emmy nomination stage, and as a member of the Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Radio and Television Artists, I get invitations from TV stations, and there's so many. There's cable, and there's streamers, and the Guild is showing with Q&As afterwards. They're showing TV shows at their little theater with the actors that are in that series. So if I want to go see a celebrity, I just go to the screening.
Right.
And they're sitting there, and the audience is 100 members.
Right.
And we're talking shop with A-listers. And it's just glorious.
Yeah, I know. The only thing I'm kind of upset about the way that I see kind of like the future going on, and it seems like everybody's like getting into online streaming, is I cut cable like 2008. I said I don't need cable anymore, which was fine with me. I got plenty of other things to look at, but now you've got like there's Netflix, then there came Hulu, and then there came Amazon, and now you've got Disney and CBS.
Yeah.
Like all these companies are getting this proprietary productions, and I'm wondering like if they're producing them, if they're distributing them.
There's I think I know where you're going. It's vertical integration.
Yeah, vertical integration, which is
manufacturing. So you own everything. And
right.
That they broke up in the 50s. The movies.
Right.
Whatever act it was that decentralized the movie theaters used to be owned by the studios.
Right.
And the actors were contracted and the directors were contracted. And so they decided that was not good, that was a monopoly.
Yeah.
There were only 5 manufacturers of something that people went to before television.
Right.
And so, I think we're going to see, we're going to face that first with Disney. A lot of people are talking about Netflix being the gorilla in the room.
Well, they were the first ones there.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're pumping lots of money.
And
Disney just bought out the Fox library.
I know, my girlfriend works for Fox.
And Lucasfilms. So they've got and MGM and Turner and Time Warner. They have their own little OTT, over the top subscription service. So it's going to quickly turn into 2 issues that they're facing. One is the monopoly issue again, and secondly, they're going to price themselves out of the market. They'll end up, consumers will pay more for these individual services than they did for cable, which is why we cut the cord in the first place.
Right.
And I just want to remind everybody that broadcast television still exists. It's free, and it's always been free. So thank you, ABC, NBC, Fox, CBS, and all you local independent TV creators and stations out there. And PBS, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, you're sending out free programming to people who cannot afford these over-the-top services.
Yeah, I've just like come to the consideration that, you know, whatever new thing Disney's going to throw out, or, you know, whatever Warner Brothers, you know, whatever these different companies are, not buying it. I'd rather, to be honest with you, I'd rather just pirate it, because it's ridiculous. Why should I have to? I cut cable for a reason, because there was a bunch of stuff that I didn't watch, and I've been happy with broadcast television, though with Netflix and HBO Go. I have HBO Go, and Amazon and YouTube. I'm actually rarely watching broadcast television anymore, just because when I do watch it, I see, like, unless it's a really good show, Blackish, I really like.
Right. Yeah.
But I see, like, how constrained they are. Like, you know, like they can't.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I'm an adult. Why can't we watch?
Overregulated.
Yeah, it's
overregulated. But I do need to address one statement that you made, and I don't want to offend you.
Oh, right.
personally.
I know exactly. Yeah.
Piracy is bad.
Yes.
It's bad for the workers of the world. It's not the companies. And believe me, I know lots and lots of people who want to watch for free. I've been known to do it. I've borrowed movies from the library so that I can make a copy and I can have it in my library, and you know, music, same thing. But now that I've been working in the industry, what happens is that we're cannibalizing creativity. We're cannibalizing production workers, and there's, you know, 0.5% of piracy. Well, that's kind of promotion. You know, word of mouth goes far. So that there's a little bit of piracy that's good. But when you start seeing the Chinese take your DCP, which is what gets broadcast in a movie theater, it's all digital to your screen in a movie, no more film. But they're taking that and showing that in their movie theaters, and no money is coming back to the producer, to the director, to the DP, the actress, the actor, the sound man, the Foley artist. That's a problem. So we've got an issue with China on a broad scale, but also Americans and teens. Please, you know, it's free to you now. It sounds cool, but your dad and your mom, they need to work. And the more that you watch something, or you steal and you pirate it, you're preventing yourself from eating and buying a new car. So you're hurting yourself. In the long run, you're going to be stuck with old movies, old music, because artists need a job.
I mean, that's kind of like what happened to the music industry, right? Napster came out, and then like, oh, we can get all this stuff for free, and then they're like, and I think there's going to be an opportunity. I mean, there's going to be a real thing here, because honestly, probably the last thing I like downloaded and watched years ago. I can't even remember. It was early 2000s. But I think there's going to actually come a point, because I was reading an article how Pirate Bay servers have recently, like, an increase in downloads of online content, or content, because maybe they don't have a subscription to CBS to watch the new Star Trek or whatever shows they're putting on there, and so I think they're going to have to like come to terms where, like,
in order to be a pirate, you're going to have to spend money.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just think that it's going to come to the thing where it's like, obviously we can't have all these different streaming media, so they're going to have to, like, I don't know, what would you call it, share certain.
Yeah, there's just too much out there to watch. And
There really is.
I'm overwhelmed. My, whatever the service calls it, my list on Netflix and on Amazon is over 100 on both services. And then they release stuff every week.
Yeah.
And they're advertising it. I'm going, I haven't even caught up with the one that I wanted to see last year.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm
Like
watching
my list of things that I have to watch is getting so long it's not even funny. I'm like, and then it's like, oh, I'm not in the mood for that. Let's go to the next one. And then something else comes along. Like Vanessa and I had just finished Black Mirror, all 3 episodes of it, which is kind of disappointing with. But then we switched over to the what was that? The Comiskey method with Michael Doug, which is brilliant.
Right. Yeah.
Another.
Only, I think 8 episodes.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
Really good show.
Yeah.
And I think that's. It is too much.
That's the future of television. Not being interrupted by commercials is a good thing.
Right.
I mean, that was the whole allure of cable when it first came out. HBO and Showtime and Cinemax, they didn't have commercials because you paid directly for them.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning.
And I don't have a problem. Like, if Amazon Prime wants to raise their price, if Netflix wants to raise, I'm okay. $20, 30, yeah, that's fine with me. But I can't have.
Wait, I have to interrupt.
Yeah.
I am I just have contained my aggravation and upset and insult that the Dodgers have their own.
Oh, that drives me crazy.
Just like
that drives me insane.
Hometown baseball team. This is America's pastime. You want me to pay to watch both the game if I go to the stadium or on television?
Yeah.
It's just the same price.
Can't watch the Lakers. Can't watch the Dodgers. Can't watch the Clippers.
They're killing me. They're killing me.
It's ridiculous.
We have a World Series team here, and the announcers go, "Well, why aren't people more into the game? Their stadiums are sold out, but they don't have enough money." It's because everybody's not watching at home.
Right.
You used to be able to be excited.
Right.
I gotta read the paper in the morning to find out what the score was and who did what. Because, damn it, I only want my team, so I subscribe for football. And that's it. That's my whole sports budget.
And apparently Debbie says apparently when you pay, there's still restrictions. I don't know what that means. But
No, there is. That's over the top. Over the top.
Yeah, I'm grateful that the Dodgers give Channel 5 11 games.
Yeah.
But 11 games out of 100.
We find out who's playing on our team.
Right. Who's playing on the team? Yeah. So it's ridiculous. I totally hate that.
I just recently found out that we have a good player who's got like a big red beard.
Oh yeah, Justin.
That's a joke. I know Justin Turner. I've been to the games. I've seen him on TV, and he's doing very well. As is some of those other Dodgers.
Yeah. I was glad they got rid of Manny Machado. I thought, I
was excited
just
about
a hired gun.
Puig had all the potential, but you got to show up to practice.
Right. Yeah.
And you got to listen to the manager's directions. If he says sit, sit. And by the way, pay attention when you're playing. Don't make enough of Puig. I'll go back to bad mouthing quarterbacks. I'm better at that. Weren't we here to talk about movies?
Yeah, we were here to talk about movies, but I guess we could talk about. Well, that's part of it because, stuff is being taken off broadcast television, so they can make more money off of you. You know what I mean? And I enjoyed putting on the game, listening to Vince Scully,
Oh, yes.
doing whatever I was doing,
Yes.
and being engaged and entertained. But you can't. I mean, even when I go on the radio, I've got to turn on the radio to listen to it.
I have
It's
such
just not the same.
fond memories of living in Philadelphia in their glory days. The late 70s, the hockey team was doing really great. Then I got a job. The boss had season tickets to everything, and it was a 15-minute subway ride, and I was like the last guy at the hall, and he'd give them away to clients, and he goes, "Hey, Japka, what do you want to do? The game starts in 10 minutes. And I go, "I'll take it." So I knew where the seats were at Veteran Stadium in Philadelphia. And I'd get there in the second inning. I saw more baseball and hockey than I'd ever been exposed to before.
That when I worked at Fox Sports, that was one of the great perks, the leftover tickets. And what fucked it up for everybody, and I'm going to use the word fucked it up because it was totally fucked up.
Facebook doesn't have regulations.
And was salespeople in the Midwest were getting a lot of stuff for because that's the Bulls were hot, so they were getting cars, golf clubs, all this stuff for these tickets, and then a memo goes out, email goes out to everybody saying we will no longer hand out any leftover tickets because of people taking advantage of it.
It's an inducement that it's hard to put down. But if I might stand up for my situation, the owner of the company.
Well,
I
get it. Yeah,
he bought seasons tickets. And
right.
It was my pleasure,
of course,
to take that unused seat. But I know what you're talking about now. To allure advertisers to advertise on the broadcast,
right?
They give them free seats to the stadium,
right?
And then they see, isn't this much better on television? Don't you want your ad on television? In the back, we have this piece of green up there. We can put Sharky's Burgers up there every single time Sharky the catcher comes up.
Sharky the catcher.
And he's got his own music and he's got his own thing. And yeah, that just, it killed advertisers. They just want to make money. And we all would like to make money.
Right. I don't have a problem whining and dining clients at a sporting event. Going up to the Fox Suite was like a great thing, but when you're like getting a brand new set of custom golf clubs just to get a certain, tickets, or you're getting free rental car for a year because you're giving this guy free. That's where it crosses the line, and you can't do that.
Everything has gone up. I mean, you listen to the old ball players tell you what their salary was.
I know.
And that, God, you can't afford to have a decent team now unless you're a billionaire.
Right.
And
you need hundreds of millions of dollars to field a really good team.
Yeah, so it's not a business model that I can play in, but I can make movies.
Right. That's true.
Make movies on my iPhone.
Right.
Edit it in my basement. And put it out into a movie theater.
It's a kind of like a good and bad thing, because before, to get noticed, you had to know the right people, or make a great thing. Now that there's just so much out there, to get noticed, you have to punch through the noise.
Right.
And
tying this all to my job, which many people won't have ever heard of.
Right.
A production manager. Where do you come up in the credits? Well, I come up first credit at the end of the movie.
Right.
And that's dictated by the union.
Right.
So there's head credits and tail credits, and before the time it gets all complicated.
Right.
But the point is, I'm the business end of the production. Most people in the world who don't sit through the credits, they think, oh, well, all you need for a movie are actors, some lights, a camera, and sound people, makeup, and anything that they show in the behind-the-scenes videos. That's all it takes to make movies. Well, I'm the guy who's managing the cost of the camera and the data, and I have to transport it from set to the editor. And I have to hire the transportation department to bring in those star wagons for dressing rooms that all the actors require now. And then we have to create our own electricity. So there's hiring of a generator. And then there's a man who operates the generator and makes sure it doesn't run out of gas.
Right.
So I deal with all of that, all the nuts and bolts, and the cameraman. And I really wish that when I came out to Los Angeles, I had a different way, because I'm a fucking great photographer. I'm an excellent cinematographer, but I needed to pay for my rent, and
right.
I needed to sell something, and
right.
I didn't have a camera reel.
Well, I think when everybody here's
my point. The cameraman stands next to his camera and waits the entire day. And the assistant cameraman, he's like frustrated because the actors won't stand still, and his job is to run a tape out there to get focus, and the second assistant cameraman's job is to make sure there's enough film or data to put in the camera, and they stand there all day long waiting to actually work for a couple of seconds every 10 minutes. I work a 14 to 16 hour day, making sure that camera is there, making sure that the data is there, that the film stock is there, that it's going from one place to another place. And, I get a little bit more money than they do, but nobody knows that this position exists. What is an assistant director anyway? It's like, oh yeah, no, we don't take notes or get coffee for the director.
Right.
We tell the background where to stand, where to go, what to do, what to walk. We create what's called a call sheet that tells the whole crew.
You got a lot of work to do, man. I tell you that.
Today.
I do not envy your jobs.
And we do, while they're shooting during the day, the production department is creating tomorrow's schedule, which includes reshoots of what didn't work out from last week. So we have to have the script supervisor's notes. That's that person. Usually it's a woman, but I'd like to see more men in a script supervisor's position. They sit there next to the camera making notes of everything. Unsung hero.
I know, Ro Moore.
Oh my
Ro Moore, I had
God.
Interviewed her.
And
I do not envy them.
They're the glue that holds the reshoot together.
Mm-hmm.
Notes.
Definitely.
Notes. So, grow up, become a cameraman, and, make music videos. Grow up, become an assistant director, and make movies.
And the DGA has an assistant director's program.
Assistant director is a position which you can train for by the union. And it is a fabulous way to get into the business. And it happens that it's mostly television these days because television is regular.
Right,
and
yeah.
They want to give students an opportunity to work regularly. But you can, as a person who's smart, has good grades, and you can be from bumfuck Wyoming, Montana, New Jersey, wherever, and come take the test, have a score that's up there, and have desire, and work in Hollywood.
Yeah,
there's a way in.
And how many? Yeah, you have to fill out an application for that class, right?
Yeah, you have to pass the test.
You have to pass the test. Yeah. And how many people do they accept per year or per semester?
I don't want to speak out of turn,
okay.
But it's less than 100.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember when I first wanted to move, because I worked in administrative for many years, and when I wanted to move over for production, that was one of the programs I wanted to get into, and anybody who was in my circle was like, nah, don't do it, don't bother, don't even try, you'll never get in. I'm just like, I'm new to this. They know more than I do, and I was concentrating on getting doing well. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not ready for it yet.
Yeah.
And then it was something that I think that I wish I would have attempted.
There's a lot of people that feel that it didn't serve them, and then there's a lot of people who are served by it. But the thing that one needs to remember is that a second assistant director does paperwork.
Yes.
That's the job.
Yes.
And making sure that background shows up on time and is paid.
Yeah.
That's their job. So your entry into the industry, and for all those people coming out of college who've gone your 4 or 5 years school, maybe you got 6 years with your master's in cinematography, you want to come to Hollywood, no one cares.
That's true. That's true.
And this is a way to get in, but you do paperwork, and you can go anywhere because you're on set.
Right.
And the best place to have opportunities is where they're working.
Right.
So if they're shooting in your town, to all those folks around the world, go to the set and hang out. Make an excuse, get past security, stand and help serve lunch.
It's kind of
people drive up the trucks, offer your house. That's how you get in the industry.
Yeah, I remember. I didn't do it. I was working. I can't remember where it was, either E or somewhere else, but down the road from where I was living at the time, Scrubs, a television show that they had the whole hospital filmed down there. One day I was just like walking by, and they because I can't remember where I was going, but I was walking by, and I'm like, just decided to like walk in, and someone stopped me and said, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm an extra." They told me that this is what I needed to wear. That I was gonna. They're like, "Yeah, okay, you're gonna want to go." And I just started walking around just to see if I could get away with it, And,
so you became an extra.
So I became an extra for a day.
No one knew.
No one knew.
You didn't get paid.
I didn't get paid.
You had a great experience.
Yeah, it was just, and you talk to people. You go to Crafty. Of course, that's when I discovered. That's
background. Don't go to Crafty.
That's what I discovered. I'm like, oh, I don't get any of that. They're like, no, you get this. And I'm like, oh, okay, thanks. I feel bad when I work on sets when the extras are like, are we able to? I'm like, I don't know. You gotta ask somebody. I gotta ask somebody else.
I became a background player for 2 reasons. One casting director I was working with, half a dozen years ago, or a dozen years ago, he said to me, "You have a good look. Have you ever considered doing commercials?" And I went, "Nah, I'm a production guy through and through." And he goes, "You should consider it. You are very expressive." And I went, "Okay." So just to put my toe in the water, I went over to Central Casting, and
which is a thing.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
a real place. It's not a myth.
Place.
Yeah.
No,
go on.
It's I could give you the history of it because I'm a film geek. But there were so many people coming to Los Angeles to be actors, and the studios couldn't handle it. All 5 major studios came together to create a central source to have extras, to background. And that was called Central Casting. And it's still called Central Casting. It's bought out by Entertainment Products, who also has software, they do payroll, and they own the Movie Magic brand, and they make most of their money in payroll, their payroll service, like ADP.
Right.
But here it is. So I go over to Central Casting. I get my picture taken. You wait in line. By the way, if you want to get in the business, you have to remember waiting in line is a skill set that must be learned. You're always going to be in line. You may think that celebrities get a pass, or if you're in the business, you get a pass. No. Being on set means you stand in line for lunch, you stand in line for makeup, you stand in line to get your wardrobe, and then you stand in line waiting for your scene to start. But that's another path. I went there. I signed up. 2 days later, I got a call. They go, yeah, we're casting for this show. We need you to look like you're an ad man in the late 50s, early 60s. So we're going to cut your hair. And is that okay with you? I go, yeah, sure, fine. So I found out the name of the show. It was called Mad Men. I'd never heard of it before.
Right.
And so they went to, I got a wardrobe call, went to Western costume. I got dressed, I got a haircut. And the next thing I know, I'm in the 4th episode of Mad Men, where he wins an award, and I'm in 6 times. And I go, this is the greatest job ever. They're paying me for 2 days to just sit around and watch television be made. And I'm a production geek. I'm watching them. I'm watching how they make movies. I'm watching how the everything that I do for my work gets carried out, and I am just an observer.
I know several people who work on crew that I've worked with who do background work, and I never thought of it that'd be a way to observe, like if you're working on it, mostly independent film, to see what a big production looks like.
And it is a excellent way to talk to the crew on. You have to have the etiquette. Your job is to shut up and stand there, but everybody just they get loose on the second day, and you can talk to anybody. You can talk to the director if you've got the right demeanor. And for me, I enjoyed watching that, but I've also made connections to other members. Before I was in the guild, I was talking to the second AD and the first AD, and they're giving me directions. And then when there's some downtime, I ask them, how they get into where they were, their career. And I'm a first AD, but I love doing background because it's like the easiest job in the world. And they go, oh yeah, oh yeah. You just go from point A to point B, and if you're smart, when they say cut, you return to point A.
Back
I
to
love
one.
those guys. And so you can move up into the industry just by having a unique looking face. So even you.
Even me. Even me.
There's a place for you.
Okay, so we've talked about your career. We talked about how you could make roads into the industry. Who inspired you to get into
into media?
Yeah.
I can't say that there's one person, because I've been making movies since I was a child.
Oh, okay.
I was one of those guys who in high school was on the AV squad.
Okay.
I had projectors. I set them up. I ran them. I was with my best friend in 7th grade, and his dad had a Super 8 camera, and we would watch stuff from Sesame Street. They did stop action animation, and we did stop action animation. I was making 3-minute movies, 7th, 8th, 9th grade. In 9th grade, I got our school, high school, had a great auditorium with a full stage. It was built in 1926.
Oh, okay.
But all the weights were there, the rafters were there. I was setting up lights. I was stage managing. We had a big soundboard and headset, and I was working the stage and also delivering AV stuff. But this is all I ever wanted to do was be in movies. I loved movies. It's like Abbott and Costello on a Saturday morning.
Oh, I love Abbott and Costello, man.
And like the Universal films, the monster movies.
Abbott,
as a kid, when I was a kid in the 60s, this is what was on instead of cartoons. And the cartoons weren't bad either, but you'd have old monster movies on television.
I became a yes.
And there was this, people know Gumby because of Eddie Murphy, but Gumby was like a religious show. It was family television,
right?
And it was made out of clay.
Who once was a little green ball of clay? Gumby. Yeah, I used to watch Gumby.
So I love stop action, and I just loved playing with the technical stuff, and it comes out creative. And I would be drawing storyboards. I loved it, and so I went to school, knowing that's what I wanted to do. And the school that I chose, Temple University, taught documentary filmmaking.
Oh, okay.
And PBS style television. So it's not theatrical, but I grabbed the theatrical aspects of it and made my way. Which also, by the way, when I was in college, I had work-study program. That's how I worked my way through college. Paid. I had no rich parents. Parents gave me $500, and they go, "That's it. That's your college fund." So I worked. I worked for the English department as a projectionist. So I ended up working in film classes.
Okay.
And then the art department, they needed a projectionist for their film is art classes. I signed up for all of that. I made my work study into work education.
That's good. That's good.
So like I said, I'm a film geek. I
can see that.
Love it.
Okay, so favorite director, favorite cinematographer, and favorite writer.
Well, these are all really hard choices because I can go way back in history, but I would say my favorite director is Coppola.
Okay.
Senior.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. But
I wasn't thinking
because he has a classical style. You shoot the close up when it's important. You don't, and the wide shot is for orientation. And one of his greatest films that doesn't get mentioned quite often is Rainmaker. Yeah, Danny DeVito, and I think it's Matt Damon. It's called Rainmaker.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
When was that? When did that come out?
Mid '80s.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're lawyers, and they work for this schlump, another name actor. I have to, when you get into your 60s, the memory isn't so good. And that's another reason why I love my iPhone. It's right there.
It's right there.
Like if I can hit the keys correctly, I can
find out
the library.
Right.
So you look that film up. That's a wonderful film.
Did you see his? I believe the last film was like Patagonia.
I haven't.
I think it was called. Yeah. Yeah, it was like came out like I want to say like 5 years ago, something like that.
Yeah. Well, I saw Apocalypse Now.
Well, who didn't?
When it played in the Cinerama Dome.
Okay, well,
and it didn't have credits on it. And there was a handout. I was visiting. I told you my mom had moved out here before.
I didn't know it didn't have credits on it.
Didn't have credits on it. There was a handout. I have it. It's like 14 by 9. 10 fold, 10 with a staple in it. I still have that at home. You went to the theater, and it was an experience. By the way, they don't release films then. In 1978 or 79, whenever that film came out, there weren't 3,000 theaters to release a film to.
Right.
So it was a marquee theater. I came to Hollywood to see Apocalypse Now, and that I'd already seen Godfather and was in love with it. And One from the Heart, I saw that and was like, wow. But Apocalypse, no, that One from the Heart was after Apocalypse. Anyway, Cinerama Dome in this wide screen, immersive environment. People are talking about immersive technology now. that's what it was in the 70s, early 80s. You're sitting in a not 180 curved theater, but almost.
Mm-hmm.
And you sit down close, and you're in the jungles of Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of my greatest films. Chivo, as a cinematographer, is one of my favorite now. He did Gravity, he did Revenant.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Mexican.
Right.
He's just.
Did he do Roma? Was that his last year?
That's Alejandro Curzon.
Oh, okay.
He's the director. The director was the cinematographer
for
Roma, shooting on his own.
Mm-hmm.
And it's beautiful. It's black and white, you know.
Yeah.
But he in Mexico, they make movies differently than we do here in the U.S. Here, a director running camera. Who do you think you are, Cassavetes? But that's Hollywood. You know, the mainstream movies, our formula.
Well, Cassavetes' style is very.
He broke the rules.
Right.
Back.
But you couldn't do. He's like, how dare you? Yeah. They're like, what are you talking about?
There's other people from that age, and Orson Welles.
Well, you know,
people talk about Citizen Kane, obviously.
Right.
Touch of Evil, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But Lady from Shanghai. Well, what is that about? Well, I don't know, but you got to only watch the last 15 minutes to really know that this is superior directorial effort.
Mm-hmm. I was kind of just. Did you see the documentary on him?
Yes.
I was really disappointed that he didn't get to finish that.
Well, which documentary?
It was on Netflix recently. Yeah. It
So
had footage from the last film he started to put together.
He's self-bloated.
Right.
There's another documentary that came out 2 years ago that is by far superior.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. It's before that last film was assembled.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I don't remember the name of it. You know, I have to go to my IMDb.
Right.
You know, it's just too much knowledge.
I don't remember phone numbers anymore. So,
how many channels we have? Can I watch that on TV if I want? I don't know. I have to look it up. The TV guide doesn't even have the Hulu. There's just too much of everything now.
Right.
And I am comfortable saying, let me go to my iPhone and I'll give you what I really like, because I have it written down there.
Oh yeah.
But I'm all absorbed right now in this second season of Amazon's first drama show that they made called Bosch.
Oh, I love Bosch.
Oh my God.
Bosch is fantastic.
I'm like, yes.
They shoot that over.
They shoot it everywhere.
Yeah, they shoot
everywhere. And it's in season 5 now.
Yeah. Bosch is great.
I love noir.
Right.
I have a collection of 40s, 50s, and early 60s DVDs, standard definition.
Mm-hmm.
But I love to just pop in, Lost Highway, for example. It's a noir-ish. But something like Detour or The Hitchhiker, these are just...
Oh, with Rutger Hauer? Is that the one you're talking about, The Hitchhiker? Rutger Hauer?
The director was Ida Lupino.
No, Rutger Hauer was the...
Rutger Hauer, oh no. Yeah, he's in the 70s. From, of course, I'm a geek. Harrison Ford movie, Philip K. Dick, the Blade Runner.
Blade Runner, right.
Yeah, I've only seen it like 16 times.
Yeah. What'd you think of the new Blade Runner?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. It's too long.
Oh yeah, I thought it was cinematic porn is basically what it is. If you were
I liked it because I like that world.
Okay.
You can't get me to the Marvel Cinematic Universe at all.
Oh really?
I can't deal with it.
Can't do it.
I've left Star Trek.
Oh really?
I can't keep up with it. Back in the day when the Next Generation came out, I went, really? How are you going to do that? And then I went, wow, this is a great show. Then Deep Space Nine came out, and I went, wow, They're doing good. And then whatever the next one came out, I was like,
Enterprise. That was the next one that came out.
And now they've got Discovery on. If you have to pay,
Yeah, I'm not
for
paying
CBS.
for it.
I even know Doug Jones, and he's the most appreciated actor that there is on the planet. God, he was the monster from last year's greatest movie title. I can't remember. Best Picture.
Something water.
Shape of Water.
Shape of Water.
He made that movie, Shape of Water, and no one even knew his name. And he's on Discovery. He's on he plays the alien.
Oh, is that him?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's Doug Jones.
Oh,
and he's the same guy.
Did he play the? It wasn't
Pan's
his
Labyrinth.
voice. He was in Pan's Labyrinth as well.
He's the hand.
Oh,
man.
he's the hand guy in Pan's
He's the
Labyrinth.
hand man.
Isn't he also? He was in the Hellboy 1 and 2.
Yeah.
He played the guy in the water.
Yep.
First time they didn't use his voice. Second time they did. Yeah.
Great guy.
Yeah, I think that's. I think he has a point where there should be a category for that type of actor who
It's
comes
called
in.
acting. That's the best actor. You
Well,
you give awards to people who are basically dressing up as men or women. Hilary Swank got it for playing a boy.
Right.
And Dustin Hoffman for
Tootsie.
I mean, and they're not even transvestites.
Right.
The real transvestites couldn't get an award. They played great. It's just going back to shooting your movie on your iPhone. There's a movie called Tangerine that's
I've heard of that.
It's shot exclusively on an iPhone right here in Hollywood and Santa Monica and Vine. This is the donut shop. That's the local place. It's now a Danny Trejo.
Yeah, Danny Trejo, the donut shop. Yeah.
But it was independent before. Maybe it was Winchester. But that whole film was shot on an iPhone. The key characters of the film are transvestites, the transsexuals, real people, and they're acting, and it's a great movie.
I don't know. I'm
So
gonna have to
I
check
think
it out.
that somebody who's in a costume playing a creature should get a nomination because he is emoting. Silent film stars won Academy Awards, and they didn't talk.
That's true.
I think they gave an Oscar to Marcel Marceau. And
They did give an Oscar to Marcel Marceau.
in the mind, he doesn't talk.
Yeah.
Well,
He talked in one movie. He talked in the Mel Brooks silent film. He had what, and it was no. That was it.
yeah.
Which I thought was brilliant.
Yeah. So I love so many across the board.
Right.
Edith Head, fabulous wardrobe person, designer, costume, truly in the old school costume design. And a lot of people on small independent films, they're taking this title, production designer or wardrobe designer. And I look on my budget sheet, and even the union, there's no credit, there's no title for wardrobe designer. It's wardrobe supervisor. That's the union title. But they're on a small film, they're getting inflated because they picked out. They went to the Gap and they shopped for some clothes that don't have logos on it, and they go, try this on, and then they show the director and they go, yeah, we wanted that vibe, that, geeky Big Bang Theory look.
Right.
So we got it, and they get costume designer with head credit.
Wow.
And then production designer. Well, production designer, they do a palette. They work with the director on creating the color palette. So if you look at a movie, and the Coen brothers, by the way, are my favorite writers.
Oh, really?
And Quentin Tarantino.
Well, yeah.
He writes.
Quentin Tarantino.
His directorial skills are dropping off now as his budgets have gone up. They're much better with lower budgets. But and Quentin, I love your words, but if you're going to refurbish all of the 70mm cameras that there are in the world and shoot the Hateful Eight, move the camera around a little. Just don't give me a one shot. All right, they're all in the same. It's a big room. Give me a dolly shot. Put that big camera on a crane. Follow. Watch the opening of Touch of Evil. It's the same size camera. Move it down the street a little bit. But do the dialogue. Don't change anything. Just like, I can't wait for Once Upon a Time.
Oh, I know. I'm really looking forward to that one.
He's moving the camera around a little.
I hope he does. Yeah. I don't want him to who's Kevin Smith? Kevin Smith hardly ever I used to watch his old films, and I'm like, dude, does the camera ever move? Is it always going to be this shot?
It's about the money.
Yeah.
See, the 80s, these guys, what's going on? How do we get into the business? Well, we make our own movies. Mm-hmm. And you take the scraps, and there's a great...
Oh, the cut ends, yeah.
Yeah, short ends.
Short ends.
And you shoot.
Yeah.
Then you edit.
Yeah.
And then you put it together. And that's how these guys made their mark.
Right.
And now they have digital cameras that you can run for an hour without changing.
I know.
So nobody stops the camera between takes. They go, okay, here, just move over to the left a little, and we'll take it from the top. So there's no clapper, there's no reset. The actors, they say, oh, well, the director, I'm doing this for the actors because it interrupts their flow when you have to stop and reset. And the assistant cameraman's going like, it's all going to be out of focus. I don't know where they are. So I got to measure.
Yeah.
But so there's disadvantages of digital, but when you are disciplined to shooting a 3-minute chunk, you rehearse,
right,
and you stop the camera.
That's what I notice on many sets that I go to, or at least a couple things that I've worked on, is the amount of improvisation I see, in the moment, but those are smaller films, which I think they would want more rehearsal. But
this is another benefit of working as a background player. I get to see how films are made, and there's much more 2-camera shoots going on right now, and there's still 3-camera shoots. I happen to have worked on Glee 5 times.
Oh, really? Okay.
I was a parent. That's just, okay, here, sit in that chair and watch the dancers practice dancing and singing all day. I did that. But I saw them bring in the Technicrane, and they were shooting with 4 cameras on a stage, and it was just beautifully choreographed where the Steadicam was, where the Technicrane was, where the pedestal camera was, or handheld camera. And these are the things that, if you're inquisitive like I am about everything, film related, you get to see. And they started doing 2 cameras for what used to be a 1-camera show to save money, and because the cost of the camera came down, the cost of the film processing came down, that they shoot two cameras. But all you people out there listening, if you're shooting 2 cameras, you shoot from the same angle. One's a close-up, one's a wide view. So knock out your wide and your medium shot in one take. Don't shoot one person's close-up and the person that they're talking to, their close-up. You'll have bad lighting, and you'll have terrible sound, and you double your budget. Because basically you're shooting 2 movies at the same time. So movies, single camera process is still the best method. You'll get the best performances. You're not shooting theater where you need multiple cameras. So stack your cameras, your camera people next to each other, shoot your wider view and shoot your close-up. And that's taking advantage of your 2-camera budget. The editor will love you.
The editor will love you. Always think about the editor when you're shooting that
That's
thing.
where it's made, baby.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what has been your favorite movie within the last, let's say, 5 years or that really stands out?
There's great movies. Revenant.
Revenant, yeah.
You can't really appreciate that on a small screen. It's got to be in a theater. And I don't want to sound snobby because I watch a lot of television, but it's a fabulous story without dialogue. Not a lot of dialogue, but there's no cuts. They just had everybody working together so that the editing was made invisible, and that's been tried over the years.
Birdman, was it Birdman? Birdman.
Another same director.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
No, you have to check me on that. I get confused. But the same cinematographer. Birdman, excellent. There's too many now, and I watch the same film over and over and over and over because I can't get enough.
You know,
you get some movies just come on TV, and like I can't stop myself.
I understand.
Something like Glenn Ross. Oh. It comes on. I'm like in the middle of it. I'm going. I can't change the channel.
Right. When you have some like the director who I think is doing the best blending CGI with what are called practical effects is Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan, like Inception. That was like brilliant.
Well, I may run into Christopher Nolan sometime, and he may hear this at some time, or may get back to him. So I don't want to say bad things. But Chris, film is dead. Don't shoot film. It's like you're doing a digital later. Okay. So, and Quentin, film is dead.
Right.
Move
right.
Get over it.
Right. I'm actually.
But Christopher Nolan's stories are great, and that's what makes it all work. But what has happened is that storytelling has moved away from the cinema theaters and onto television. I don't know what's going on in the Marvel universe. I mean, I really liked Iron Man. I really, really liked Iron Man. I even liked Iron Man 2. But then the Avengers, like, I don't know what's going on. I had to watch.
Yeah, they had made you watch a lot of movies to like.
But even Black Panther, I had to watch it 3 times before I figured out the story. And my son, you know, he's a great guy. He's 26. He's going like, this is this and this is that, and I'm going like, how did you know that?
I grew up on those comic books, so you know it was easy for me to like, oh, they're gonna do like, you know, even though you know like what the arc's gonna be and how it's gonna come around, but yeah, so I like maybe I get to it better.
The film that I like best that used, sorry folks, I hit the mic. That used all of these techniques the best. It goes back a few years. It's Captain Tomorrow and Captain Sky and the World Tomorrow.
Captain Sky and the World Tomorrow. That was
love
completely green screened everywhere.
That's what
I understand.
That's what movies are.
That's what movies are today. Do you know who really took advantage of that? And is Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah.
He said, screw you guys. I'm going back to Texas, and I'm going to make my own stuff. And then he comes out with Spy Kids, and then he comes out with Sin City, and you know he was the one who really embraced. He's like, this is the future, and now everything's green screen. I mean,
and that's why they built huge studios in Atlanta, and California didn't understand that they were stealing our workers.
How do they not know that?
Well, California thought.
Hollywood people are
bit self-centered. Only we can do it. Only we can do it our way. And it's just the same thing as I talked about at the beginning when I came on. You said, what did you do before you made movies? Mm-hmm. Because that's the opinion of people who work in the industry. New Yorkers think the world doesn't exist outside New York. People in the movie industry think nobody who didn't grow up in Hollywood can make a movie.
Well, I didn't grow up in Hollywood, but I grew up like 24 miles away. So
yeah,
but
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I noticed that like back in the 90s when like a lot of stuff was going up to Canada. And then as the 2000s came on, then you start seeing a lot of stuff going down to Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And then like around the world, like, you know, you go to Morocco, you got those huge studios out there, massive soundstage.
Sure.
And it's like, you don't have to be in Hollywood anymore.
Well, you know.
And plus everybody's like, hey, come over here, we're going to give you credit, you know, we're going to give you tax credits.
That's the thing.
California's way behind.
Coupons for your car wash.
Yeah, California was way behind.
To get your car washed, but who knows how to do the detail of a Rolls Royce?
Right.
Well, it's only certain car washes that know how to do that.
Right.
Or I would let my Lexus go. You know, I'd rather do it myself. But the point that I'm trying to make is that states and countries were handing out 20% off coupons to film production companies and calling it a tax incentive. Mm-hmm. Governments in states and countries were giving 30% rebates because they see the movie box office numbers are in $100 million. Mm-hmm. Well, what's 30% of $100 million? They think, I'm going to get that. Well, all these incentive programs have been gone through fraud. They've been reduced. There's only a few left. Movies are still made in Canada and they're made overseas as necessary. Mm-hmm. But what happened is Atlanta is built, and Georgia built up enough infrastructure that they did steel business. You don't hear Louisiana bounted about anymore. Right. Well, they stopped their tax credit.
They can't afford anything in Louisiana.
Now with the abortion
I
situation in Georgia,
yeah, that's going to be a problem.
The companies are saying we're not going to shoot there, and you get politics involved in commerce. Just what Americans don't want. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to venture in, but I think that any money that Georgia as a state is going to throw at Hollywood is going to have political ties in order to keep people employed there. And the people there right now, they're collecting themselves. They're not even unionized, but they're getting together and they're marching there. You're taking away our jobs, Hollywood, you big bad bully. With all your millions of dollars, you can't hire us in Atlanta. I'm like, people, you hired the wrong politician. Elect somebody else. They'll keep your jobs. I'm done.
Actually, I don't think I knew it, but I worked with a guy who, him and his wife actually moved out to Atlanta for the amount of work that was out there.
Yeah.
And
they'll all be coming back.
Let's hope so. Well, I was really surprised how much the past couple of years, how much production has picked up within the city.
Well, in Los Angeles is expensive. California is expensive. It's expensive to live here. Mm-hmm. I don't know how young people are going to, have similar experiences that I had. Mm. My son, he right now he shares an apartment. It's a 2-level apartment with 3 bedrooms. It was meant for family in West LA, Culver City, and he's got a room, and he rents a room on a salary that he can afford, which is under $1,000.
Wow.
But he looked at me and he goes, Dad, I have to do another kind of job or move somewhere else.
What does he do?
He's in sales.
Oh, okay.
He's in wholesale sales.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was just thinking on my way over that I'll put him through makeup school or wardrobe school.
Yeah.
And you become a makeup artist, you'll make lots of money.
Yeah.
It'll be wardrobe.
Especially if you do special effects, because that's, you know.
Especially if you do beauty makeup.
Beauty makeup. Yeah, good beauty makeup.
Forget the special effects. You know, people want jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Where are the jobs? The jobs are what other people don't want to do.
Right.
Everybody, you know, wants to have a special effect. Oh, that's look at me, look at me. We're satisfying our egos. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we need to do that. But if you want to work, be a custodian. You'll always have a job. Be a bus driver. You'll always have a job. Truck driver. Not so much.
Not so much.
Anymore with the
Elon Musk will have something to say about that.
Beauty makeup isn't going away. Fashion isn't going away.
Mm-hmm.
TV, movies, not going away.
Right.
They're all going to be wearing something on their body,
mm-hmm.
and they're going to have at least powder on their face.
It's true.
Our lenses aren't going to change too much in the future.
That's true.
But you want to know about my job? My job is paying everybody.
Yeah.
That's why you invited me here to talk about what does a line producer do. And you know, I'm the guy who makes sure that
everybody gets paid.
Everybody gets paid. Yeah.
Well, that's good.
So
Because everybody needs to get paid.
A great conversation.
Well, David, it's been about 2 hours, so I think maybe we should wrap this up.
I don't want to get a ticket. You
have
to pay for my parking.
Not a problem. All right. Excuse me. I want to thank you for coming on my podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I think it was very informative. I liked your story about how you got here, and I'll be looking for you in the background.
I'll probably, and here's another, just as our send-off goes,
mm-hmm.
As soon as I turned 60, no one wanted to hire me. I used to work background a couple of days a month, enough to like feel like I'm in the business. I turned 60, they don't hire me anymore. But I was in an episode of SEAL Team because they wanted an elderly tourist. So I still have my card. And yeah, I do work as a production manager. And I mostly, this is my sales pitch, I take scripts now and I do the breakdown and budget so that they can be financed. So if you have a great story and you're tied to a producer and you want to know how much money you need to make this film, that's what I do. I have a fixed rate to do that. You can Google me. I'm very easy to find. David Japka, line producer. I create budgets and schedules so that you as a filmmaker can go and take it to a financier and look like you know what you're doing. And then of course you can hire me and I will bring that film together with the right people, that it looks great and it will be sold in one of the markets that we haven't even talked about. But for all young filmmakers, that's what I do now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Thank you for listening. I hope you got something out of this podcast. If you did and you enjoyed the episode, please hit the subscribe button and the bell so you can get notifications of future episodes. I would also like to personally invite you to follow Stories from the Set on Instagram. And while you're at it, like our Facebook page as well. I would like to thank you again for taking the time to listen, and please remember to fail often so you can learn to fail better.